So I'm here with my friend Lisa Connell from International Languages and Culture. She teaches French at the University of West Georgia. And the topic for discussion today, the word of the day, is Duolingo. I ran into Duolingo about 7 years ago when I started the Italy program. A lot of my students were turning me onto it and showing me what it was doing. Tell us a little bit about what Duolingo is for those who don't know.
Yeah. Thanks so much for inviting me. I'm really glad to be a part of this. So, Duolingo is a free online language learning app, and basically, it has taken a gamification approach to language learning. So you have a app that is set up into very discrete mini lessons. They'll touch on vocabulary, phonetics, different aspects of completing a sentence, be that with a proper subject or a verb, and it provides instant feedback. So learners always have an idea about their grasp of that particular material. Interestingly, right now there are 23 languages that are available through Duolingo. And it also says, depending on which page you're on their website, that there are 300 million or 500 million users who are using Duolingo. So obviously it's gotten a lot of traction.
Yeah, actually, I came up with the figure of 38 languages, they say. So there's,
Oh,
there's
really?
tons of languages, right? And the little story I heard on NPR about the founder, Louis von Ahn, he's a Guatemalan American, originally the founder of CAPTCHA. And we all know CAPTCHA, those annoying boxes where you have to pretty much prove that you're not a robot by typing in something that was illegible. He's responsible for that. And we might think, well, that's annoying. But he's like, well, we're helping to digitize books. So he's crowdsourcing a lot of that. And one figure I got was CAPTCHA is responsible for scanning 40 million words per day.
Wow.
They did the entire New York Times corpus, pre-digitized corpus in like a matter of months. I mean, it's an incredible resource. So the guy's amazing. He starts Duolingo, and it's all about giving people free access to language acquisition. And it just seems like there are a lot of pluses about it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I know. And I love the spirit with which it was created. You know, he's really trying to address a need that people who may not have the means for formal language learning could still have access to languages that would really help them gain different opportunities, financial stability. So I love the spirit and intent with which it was created. And I think there are a lot of really good things about Duolingo. I don't personally use it in my classroom, but I know that other language teachers do, generally as a supplement to homework or maybe a fun sort of activity that goes over what has already been presented. So, I mean, I think that it's tapping into a generation of learners that have had all sorts of materials presented to them via a screen, right? So I think that it's kind of getting into it's getting into the affective terrain of learning and trying to take that away, taking away any sort of fear, you know, that comes with a person right in front of you, and maybe not knowing or having the best rapport with the teacher, you know. So I think it's a way to navigate some of those things. But I also think a good thing about it is that it can help students feel more comfortable taking risks with the language. So you might feel silly in a classroom practicing your accent or speaking with your partner, but in your room, you can pour it on as thick as you want. And in some ways, the phonetic activities force you to do that, or else it will just be like, nope, nope. And so the ability to take risks with Duolingo, I think, is really, really great. So a sense of empowerment of learning that it provides. And I just think the fact that with those numbers, whether it's 300 million or 500 million, it's also showing that people want and are interested in learning language. And I love that is putting pressure on the idea that this is an English only world, and that languages are onerous and that no one has any fun learning them. So I love that is a part of this Duolingo terrain here.
Yeah. And I've got friends, some of our former colleagues even, wanting to learn Italian. And every day I see my friend Michael, and he said, "Oh, I got a question about Duolingo today. I was doing it." And he's just got this long streak. I've got multiple friends with these long streaks. It's the gamification of language acquisition. Now, it's got to have a kind of like, it sounds too good to be true in a way. And in the back of my mind, I just keep thinking, get rich quick, Rosetta Stone, snake oil. Are the results there, or do we have any sense that this is actually working? And what is the, not darker side, but what's the sort of the less positive side of this whole culture?
Yeah, and I think that's definitely something to consider with anything, right? And I think this in particular, especially when we are in a time where languages and then the humanities in general are not supported in any real structured way, or that people say that Rosetta Stone will be your language classroom now. I think that's entire, and that has happened. There are precedents for that in these times where learning for all people is consistently underfunded and undersupported. And so I think some things to keep in mind. I've also, with Duolingo, I have experience too. I tried, I used it to refresh my Spanish. And I also used it with my young kids. So one was literate, one was pre-literate, for French, to try and hook them in. And what I found was that it was, the phonetic activities were great for literate and pre-literate, so you have really strong feedback there. But after a certain point, the only way that my kids could go forward with the French lessons, or even I could go forward with my Spanish, which I had strong reading skills, but not necessarily speaking skills, was because of the knowledge that I had about grammar, which is not conveyed very explicitly in through the Duolingo platform. It's kind of like grammar becomes a dirty word.
Yeah, right.
But so in some ways, I think that was one of the real eye-opening aspects of me as a learner and me as a teacher too, with this platform. So I saw it as a good supplement, but nothing that would stand alone. And that you need to have a scaffolded classroom experience, or somebody who can help fill in the gaps, like somebody coming to you with Italian, like, what is going on here,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
They didn't have you as a source. They would be stuck in this spot. And I think that one of the beauties of language learning, for me at least, is that it's a reminder of our interdependence on people, right? That and so I'm uncomfortable with these claims that I'm seeing, that Duolingo is, quote, the best new way to learn a language, and that, quote, a study, meaning one study, is showing that 34 hours of Duolingo is the same as a college, one semester of college language class. And I think that that's problematic for a lot of reasons, but it's also overlooking the connections between language and the culture that are always inherently a part of every single classroom. And then it also suggests language communication can occur without human interaction. And that's been very, very soundly debunked by language acquisition research. You have to have a person in front of you to build your language skills.
Yeah.
So
ostensibly, that's the whole purpose of wanting to acquire a language, right? To communicate with people, not a machine, right?
Right. And that at the end of the day, you're not going to be talking with somebody beside you with your phone right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it almost feels like, Duolingo, it's a great resource, it's a great tool. The spirit is, I think, noble. And at first they were even free. Right now they've begun to monetize that. And so you can still access it free, but you can also pay for a version where there are fewer ads and you get little bells and whistles. And I just did a quick look before we were talking. In 2016, when they started that, the first year they started monetizing, they made $1 million. 2019, $86 million.
wow.
So we're seeing again this sort of difficult confluence of academic language acquisition and also capitalism, and they're not always great soulmates.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think it does go back to a sense of trying to, when you're trying to gamify everything, I think you're also suggesting that you can't learn hard things and still have fun. And I think that
Nice.
fundamentally that's such a disservice to anybody, whether you're a kid or an adult who's trying something new. I think it's really sort of at its worst might be reinforcing a fixed mindset about what it means to learn and have your abilities challenged in a way that's really positive. So
I agree. I agree. One of one of my greatest events in my life was going to school and learning Italian, and being a part of that culture. And I wouldn't give it up for anything. And it's the whole purpose of being there and communicating with people and forging friendships through language. It's the most amazing thing I've ever done.
right, absolutely. And I mean, I think it's also funny, right? You're in these situations.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a good reminder about how much you always have to learn. Yeah, I mean, I had the same experience. I majored in English and French, and then I went to France for the first time. Nobody understood me when I was asking how to catch a bus.
Yeah, I know exactly how that
You
feels.
know, you're mortified, your ego is just crushed, but at the same time, it's such an important
It's a
process.
good crushing feeling.
You just got to move through it. And I think that does so much more for your spirit and gives you so much more empathy in terms of people who you encounter on the street who might have some significant challenges, making themselves understood.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
all just a part of it. And I
Well,
think remembering to have a sense of humor is always crucial for language learning.
well, I hope at the very least that that Duolingo maybe encourages more people to go and take a class in a language. You know, it's very easy to do. You can sign up right here at West Georgia and take a class with
Absolutely.
Connell.
And that you can do it and have fun.
And have fun. Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks so much, Chad. I enjoyed it.